Ah, Naughty Dog, one of the best gaming studios ever. Don't we just love them, guys? I mean, look at their history. Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, the Uncharted series, and who could forget The Last of Us, a game so good it won an award for winning so many awards. I just can't wait for part 2. Hopefully we get to play as Joel for a bit and they expand the story, maybe get some confrontation for when Joel lied to Ellie in the end. And I wonder how they'll keep the theme of hope alive in this one, considering that's what the first game was really built on. Oh man, I just can't. Wait a second. Oh no. Oh no! Oh hell nah! You gon' get it now, Naughty Dog. Play my motherfucking music. So, as you guys already know, The Last of Us Part 2 has been leaked like crazy and Naughty Dog are doing a terrible job dealing with it. Instead of biting the bullet and weathering out the storm, they've instead opted for taking down videos causing YouTubers to get a strike. They claim they're not the ones behind it, but I don't believe that for a second. Naughty Dog and the company striking videos, Muso Entertainment, are both under Sony, so all Naughty Dog needs to do is contact the company and tell them to stop striking channels and release the claims, but they're not doing that. And I'm not surprised that Sony aren't stepping in to remedy the situation. Let's not forget Sony at one point actually tried to trademark the term Let's Play, meaning they could strike channels or take the revenue from any YouTube video with Let's Play in the title, but I'm supposed to trust them. Yeah. I trust Naughty Dog and Sony about as much as I trust Katarina when she tells me I'm the only one for her. Naughty Dog is just using the technicality as a scapegoat. If they wanted the striking of videos to stop, they would stop. The most annoying part about all of this is that games journalists are not reporting on the situation. Most aren't even discussing the leaks at all for fear they may get blacklisted from future Naughty Dog or Sony games in general. It's made worse that right now YouTube have less manpower to deal with all the problems going on. There are YouTubers who've had their channels hacked and deleted, so for Naughty Dog to go around making matters worse and striking people's channels, which could lead to a deletion, is honestly pathetic. People discussing the leaks is not illegal. They're not under a non-disclosure agreement with the company. They're not the ones that leaked the game. They're not even posting gameplay or pictures. They're just talking about it, which is completely fair use, yet Naughty Dog is still able to somehow abuse the system. Fortunately, a lot of YouTubers are fighting against this, and at the recording of this video, so far 2 channels have recovered their videos and fought the strikes off. Not only is this a PR nightmare for Naughty Dog and Sony, but it could also lead to legal actions against them for false copyright striking, though it's unlikely it'll actually go that far. I'm not a lawyer, that's just what I've been told. This isn't the only thing Naughty Dog caught heat over. They've also played a massive part in crunch culture that the gaming industry suffers from, where companies basically force their employees to work ridiculous hours towards the end of the development cycle so they can get the game out on time. Not only that, but there was one of the initial leaks from The Last of Us 2 claiming that the villains would be a homophobic Christian cult because why wouldn't they be? They're an easy target that won't get them any backlash. I mean, just replace Christian with any other faith and see how that goes. Even so, I find it kind of funny how a game studio that brags about compassion and inclusiveness and loving everybody would pick someone's faith to villainize. Just seems a little fishy to me. An anonymous source of Naughty Dog spoke up on the issues within the company. They said, The Last of Us 2 is very divisive, and as you can imagine, some of the team aren't really thrilled to be working on the game. Many people would agree with me that this has been one of the worst projects they've ever had to work on, and that's not just because some people disagree with the plot. Even though some of the members are Christians and don't necessarily agree with the game's message, they also are professionals and can put their personal politics aside to get the job done. What really sucks about all of this is the working environment. The team is very much divided on the game, and even voicing your concerns on its story will upset certain individuals. I presume he's talking about Neil Druckmann there. It usually results in said person being called closed-minded or even phobic or some such nonsense. Some people literally have to bite their tongues or fear losing their jobs or even careers to an outrage mob. End of quote. Now, that just sounds like a terrible working environment to be in. How are creators supposed to create when every time they put forth an idea or voice their opinions, they get shot down, made to feel like scum, or that their livelihoods may be at risk? That's no way to work. It seems more like Naughty Dog just want yes men to do as they're told, like the good little doggies they are, rather than a team that contributes as a collective to build the best possible game they can. Now, I think it's time we discuss the actual leaks, and boy are there a lot. I spoiled the game for myself because even though I was very interested in playing part 2, I was never really a big The Last of Us fan in the first place. So as soon as I heard the leaks sucked, my curiosity peaked and I just had to see what all the fuss was about. I also saw around an hour of leaked footage, and honestly, from what I saw, the game still look good. Now wait, I know some of you clicked on this video because you wanted me to hate on it so you could feel cathartic or something, and don't worry, I'll get to that in a second. But for now, I have to say, it still looked pretty good. The graphics were great, the gameplay was smooth, fluid and intense, the voice acting was exceptional, the cutscenes and cinematography were very well done, and the dialogue was good. However, there are 3 main problems I have. 3 problems that really ruined this game for me. And those would be Joel's death, this whole political agenda the game seems to be forcing on the player, and how we're going to play as a completely new character in the second half of the game. Now here's the interesting thing. These three didn't have to be bad. You can have a main character die, no issue there. You can have a game that's political, again, no issue there. You can also have us change characters halfway through, no problemo. But the way Naughty Dog did this felt lazy, cheap, and kind of insulting. In the leaked footage, we're moving around as Ellie and then we enter a room. In the room, we see Joel laying on the ground gasping to breathe, soaked in his own blood. We then see another character proceed to bash his skull in with a golf club. Obviously the person who wrote this scene had just finished watching The Walking Dead. Ellie runs at the attacker, who is named Abby, but gets intercepted by one of the goons and taken down. The scene skips a bit, and I'm not sure if this is in the same timeline or a different one, but we then see Abby mount Ellie and pulverize her face and just go into town with the punches. Ellie's girlfriend Dina then runs into the room and tries to stab Abby, but Abby is just too strong and quickly overpowers her. Abby takes the knife to Dina's throat, ready to cut away, when all of a sudden Ellie blurts out, "Dina's pregnant," which makes Abby feel bad. Abby decides to release Dina and walk away, letting them both live, because obviously Ellie won't come back for revenge or something. Now, as I previously stated, killing a main character off isn't a problem. Movies, TV series and games have been doing this since the beginning of entertainment. The issue I have is in the way in which they did it, and the purpose for Joel's death. Now, of course, everything is out of context, and I'm sure the game will do a better job of setting it up, but just going off from what I saw, it looked more like Naughty Dog was going for shock factor. Joel is a character people have loved for 7 years. In one game, he managed to become a staple character in the PlayStation franchise, and honestly, just a terrific protagonist in general, up there with the best of them. So for him to die in this manner felt, well, disrespectful and cheap. I'm not saying he needed a badass death where he saves millions of lives and an explosion goes off behind him as he lights a cigar and slowly disappears, but he deserved better than this. I mean, imagine if Ezio had been killed like this, or Arthur Morgan. How would that have changed the impact of the story? And I don't want to hear this crap about, oh, but the whole point of that scene was to make you feel that way, because that doesn't automatically make it good or excusable. That's like if you criticize Red Dead Redemption 2 for being on your horse the whole time and someone says, yeah, but that's the point. You're a cowboy, you're supposed to be on your horse the whole time. Well, that doesn't make it better and supersede your right to criticize the decision. By the way, don't hate me for that example, Red Dead Redemption fans. I'm right there with you. RDR2, greatest game of all time, whoop whoop. Anyway, back to my point. Most of us already thought Joel would die in part 2 and that his death would be used as sort of fuel for Ellie to drive her through the rest of the game, but no one expected this. I've always used Naughty Dog and The Last of Us specifically as an example for developers that they don't need some crazy, elaborate, twist and turn, never done before, shocking story to be good. You just need great writing. I mean, how many times have we seen part 1 story? Zombie apocalypse, father loses his daughter, there's a girl who's the cure, at first he hates her, but then he starts to like her, and by the end he looks at her like his own daughter. It's not new, however the way in which Naughty Dog wrote the story made it something special. Part 2 almost seems more like fan fiction or soap opera. You're not edgy just because your story has a lesbian affair where one of them gets pregnant. Now, another issue with the game is this Abby character who we are going to play as for the second half of the game. Gaming news sites and other publications are claiming Abby is a transgender person, which right now I believe the only proof of that is a 4chan post, which is about as reliable as Todd Howard.
These NPCs are not scripted.
Is it weird that I still kind of like Todd Howard? I don't know, there's something about him. Anyway, so far we have no confirmation on Abby, so that won't be a point of discussion for this video. But if it is true, I just want to state that I don't care. As long as Abby is just written well and not used as a political point, it's fine with me. Because if that is her reason for being in the game, that would just be petty. So just to run down Abby's story, her father was one of the Firefly doctors in the end of the first game that Joel kills to save Ellie. Now she's out for revenge because hatred breeds more hatred and everyone's just a shade of grey. Am I right, guys? So essentially what happens is after Abby kills Joel, we take control of her and have to beat up Ellie. Again, this feels more like shock factor and a cheap way to target the player's heartstrings, but whatever. After the whole incident, Ellie and her gang of buddies tries to track Abby down and kill her, leading back to this whole never-ending revenge cycle that Naughty Dog loves to brag about. Now, while switching characters isn't a bad idea, who's going to want to play as the person who just brutally murdered Joel and beat the ever-living crap out of Ellie? This would be like if Micah killed Arthur halfway through RDR2 and we switched to him for the rest of the game. Who would want that? How are we supposed to connect to and have any sympathy for a character like that? We're not. The Last of Us 2 was Joel and Ellie's story, and that was enough. The last issue I have with the game is the agenda it looks to try and force on us. If a creative property wants to use politics in the game, even though I'm not a fan of it, I think it's completely fine. The issue comes when they put their personal politics in a pre-existing property that didn't have them to begin with. The first game wasn't political to me. It didn't pick a side or force some long-standing point. Characters like Tess were badass without the game having to remind us of her race, gender, or sexuality. They showed us why she was cool. It focused 100% on story and character development, and that's what made the first game's narrative so great. And that's coming from someone someone who wasn't even a fan. However, part 2 really looks to send a message or something. Now, I don't want to get into it too much or jump to conclusions because I could be wrong and I hope I am. I'm just going off what I already know, and so far I'm worried. All I can do is hope that even through all my gripes and worries, they can deliver a great game. I genuinely don't want The Last of Us 2 to fail. I don't want it to suck. I want to play this game because even though I know the main plot points and I'm unhappy with a few of the decisions, there's still so much that could be great if done correctly. I hope a month from now I can make a video on how amazing The Last of Us 2 is and how we were all wrong. I really do. Because if not, it'll be a video talking about how Naughty Dog killed a franchise.